Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stat Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin. Joining me as co-host, Jason Juggling J. Ford. We are awaiting the group from Hindsight Fitness. They'll be joining us to talk about getting Bermuda moving. And later on, we'll be joined by the president of the Bermuda Boxing Federation, Mr. Nathan Dill. So, Jay, interesting night set for us, but how have you been?
Man, it's been very interesting, mixed emotions, obviously for the past week. So a few friends transitioning, but man, to be around the sporting world, and Earl, I will say, Earl, I was at Devonshire Rec on Sunday night
Mm-hmm.
for the first game with the restrictions, no safe key,
Yeah, right.
a drizzly night,
Mm-hmm.
cool night.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think it was be probably just us and the players to
Yeah.
see a good crowd come out there and really cheer on the two teams, and it was unbelievable, and you could just see the relief in everybody's. So hate to say this here, but it's been a long time coming, but thank goodness it's here. Thank
Well,
goodness.
interesting. Just today, the Prime Minister in the UK is talking about lifting all restrictions within the next few weeks over in the UK. And I'm just wondering if that will be the same thing, because as all the leaders have said, even the medical people, we have to learn how to live with this. And no, it will be no more if you have COVID, stay home. All of that's out the door. They're going to treat it like a common cold.
Yep.
If you're struggling, you go to the doctor or you go to the hospital or you stay home. That's on you. But yeah, because you have a lot of people who have had no symptoms but tested positive and been restricted. So I think now that transition is about to change. I don't know how long it's going to take to come to our shores, but if the rest of the world's doing it, I don't see why we shouldn't follow suit sooner rather than later.
Well, I mean, it's amazing you said that, because the leaders are always taking their advice from,
They're
for the
medical.
most part, they're taking the advice either from the CDC or the WHO, World
Yeah.
Health Organization.
Mhm.
And over the past 6 to 8 months, there's been some conflicted, theories.
Mhm.
So now it's when you look at Europe and a lot of those countries, they're really guided by the WHO, and they're saying now, hey, the risk, like you say, you can almost treat it as a cold per se,
Right. Yeah.
compared to the CDC was still trying to have these strict restrictions, right? So
Mhm.
basically, who are you following? What leaders are following what? And you see it in the states, where a lot of the states now are looking to basically, hey, masks will only be voluntary. That's
Mhm.
so it's going to be interesting. Like I said, when does it get down to us? Because we'll have to follow somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'm
but
not
it's
sure if we're going to follow it to the east or to the west or the south or the north. We're not sure.
but the good thing is, Earl, as we know, we have a lot of major events coming up, starting very, very soon. So throughout the whole summer, thank God now, just as it looks like none of these events will have been in jeopardy of the restrictions we've been under for the last 2 years.
Definitely. Hopefully, most of it is all lifted ahead, where we can start to see some international competition return to our shores that we're involved in, and not just overseas people involved in, because we know that we have the women's national team off to Jamaica to play their first game in the Women's World Cup qualifiers, and then they're playing their home game at the IMG Academy. But then in April, there's another two games, and one of them are scheduled to be our home game. So hopefully, if things work out, we could actually host a game in Bermuda.
Our girls, our ladies, our young ladies up the carpet. Man, I'm hoping we can pull that off. I'm really hoping we can pull that off.
Sure, because we've been the entertainers, or the land of entertainers, of allowing others to come in and enjoy our hospitality and our events, sort of thing. But we have struggled to take part in them ourselves. So hopefully this will be another catalyst of letting us go out and support ours, kind of thing. So yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah. I know where I said we're waiting on Hindsight. They are just moments away from joining us here. We're going to be talking about getting Bermuda moving, fitness. Now, you said you've watched a few football games. Now, we saw the struggle early of players not being in shape. I know the association, when they got the order to be allowed to play and extra player, gave teams extra time to get ready. But it's nothing like match fitness. It's nothing like being out there playing, not just Trinity kind of thing. So from what you've seen, what do you think it looks like now?
I tell you, it's troubling, mind troubling. I say mind boggling, mind troubling, because when you're looking at the health of a player, I've seen it also in international sports, whether it be the EPL, whether it be the NBA. It's troubling because when the leagues have been shut down or cut short or ramped back up, all of a sudden it's a flurry of games.
Yeah.
And you just said it. It's hard, number one, to get in game shape, which is probably once a week, maybe, and you get some training in, but also now for the last couple of weeks, some of these teams have been playing 3 games in a week.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get the quality of the game that you want because all these guys are doing is playing and trying to recover.
Yeah.
To the next game, and then it's recover.
Yeah.
The next game, and then it's recover, right?
Yeah.
So I understand it because you want to get these games in. You want to finish the league. You want to finish these cups. You want to get these cups in. But it's gonna be hard. It's hard on the players. And watching each team, depending if you're not in the top 4 teams, really top 5 teams, it's a struggle.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about fitness because Jay, at this time, we want to bring in Hindsight Fitness.
Welcome to Hindsight Fitness and Wellness.
Hey guys, welcome to another at-home workout brought to you by Hindsight Fitness and Wellness.
All right, nice work. Shake it out. We are going to go to the next leg in 10 seconds.
Remember to keep your core engaged.
Same thing, same mental toughness.
Remain honest with your efforts and remain unapologetic about how you choose to live your fitness and wellness journey. See you next time, guys. Hindsight, how you feeling? Good.
Well, Hindsight Fitness and Wellness.
Good evening.
Said can probably use your expertise at this time.
I feel like everybody could do for a little fitness and wellness, right? So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, in our conversation, you were talking about you wanted to help get Bermuda moving again. We've been in this pandemic 2 years. There's been a lot of home on the couch. Any excuse not to exercise, but you've had quite a few people take that opportunity to actually work out. How has the last 2 years through the pandemic been for you in the business?
I mean, to be honest, we are blessed. We are blessed to be able to still be thriving regardless of the pandemic. But I would say that the minute it came, so that March 16th, March 18th weekend, our wheels started rolling on how we can still serve our clients. And my husband actually comes from an IT background. So he was like, surely there's like some sort of meeting room we could join. And then Zoom, of course, skyrocketed. And we didn't buy any shares in it, but, we said, all right, well, our platform has to be something online based if we are now quarantining or sheltering in place, as they try to nicely say it when it first came out. Yeah, so I think the best thing was that we stayed innovative and we stayed trying to still serve our communities, trying to still serve our clients, because the last thing we wanted was, for one, the business to fall under. That's the most important thing, right? And then 2, to undo all the work that we've been putting in, because we've been in business since 2012. And they say when you make it past 5 years, you're in. And then the pandemic came and trying to say, hey, so that was our big aim. Yeah.
Jay, you have any quick questions?
Well, first of all, welcome again, twice in a week. But no, absolutely right. And I think one thing that the pandemic has taught all of us is to adapt. You know,
Yeah.
when it came is who's going to adapt, and you took advantage of the technology that was put forth. A lot of people may have been slow to, but the folks
Yeah.
who jumped on it was able to thrive and capture an audience that people had never known that there was an audience for.
Absolutely.
So my question
again-
for you would be because of the pandemic, and it was a health pandemic. So a lot of us were starting to think about us, you know, what are we eating?
Mhm.
You know, how are we treating our body? Because they were saying if you ate X, Y, Z, you should have less chances of this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
What were clients coming to you, not so much as the physical stuff, but also the diet stuff and stuff like that? Because I know you probably do a lot of what's intake and then, you know, trying to monitor your intake and then whack it back off. But since folks are home, how would you be able to give them that opportunity to and advice what to intake and how much to intake?
I mean, to tell you the truth, that's just a part of our business model. That's a part of how we interact with our clients anyway, is always to touch base on eating healthy or being mindful of what you're eating. Because when you say eating healthy, the stigma is, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have that. And we're human, you know, and it's hard to say I'm going to live 100% healthy and ignore certain things. So, and it wasn't even about teaching the balance part. It's about literally just be mindful about what you're eating. And we haven't changed that, regardless of what, you know, the Facebook doctors are saying or the actual medical field saying. Nothing's changed, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but nothing's changed. You still have to think and be mindful about what you're eating and understand that, first of all, we're adults. We understand what consequences are. So we should understand that if we have a diet that's high in saturated fats or just high in or too much fatty meats, you know, you nothing's changed, you know. And I think that for the majority of our clients, they understood that, regardless of, you know, different things that were coming their way about COVID this, COVID that. I think they still understood that at the end of the day, just watch what you eat regardless, because we're going to come out of this pandemic on the other side, right? That's always the positive mind that you're trying to keep, that I'm going to come out on the other side. What am I going to come out of it with? Mindful eating, mindful movement. I was going to say, when you said there's a lot of couch sitting, I loved walking out the street and just seeing people moving, because what else are they going to do? I would say that was probably the most Bermuda has moved. You go outside and you're like, hey, you're going for a run? Well, look at you. Because time literally slowed down enough for you to say, hey, okay, I'm working from home now. My meetings are 2 hours apart. There's only so much TV I can watch. Maybe I should go for a run. And I think that's what it afforded a lot of people, was the time to just slow down and assess their lives and say, hey, when I come out of this, whenever the year is, I know a lot of us thought it was gonna be like 6-7 months. Like, when I come out of this, what do I want to? I can either come out having learned something about myself, you know, or I can come out of it, unfortunately, just on the depressed side of, oh, I got nothing done. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that answers your question, right, Jay?
Now, you guys, your classes and the way you do your things, you have kind of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced kind of setup, all in the same kind of what I would say, all in the same type of class. It's up to the individual where they're at. But how do you manage to encourage the beginner to stay in it? I know you have different exercises, like smaller exercises for the beginner, but just still doing and getting the heart rate going. So how do you manage that if you have somebody who's just starting, but you've got all these advanced people in the class?
Well, Patrice Roberts said it best: drink water and mind your business. So it all is all It's all a mind thing. And I want every beginner to understand that we all started from somewhere, right? Literally every single person that you may think is this amazing athlete or this amazing person in the gym, they started from somewhere. And you have to keep remembering that your start doesn't necessarily say where you're going to finish. You just have to push on, and literally stay in your lane. You're not there to show up, to show off or anything like that, but stay in your own lane. Keep your mind on what you are doing and try not to worry about what the next person's doing. Literally focus on your journey. And I always tell my clients that this is your journey and literally mind your journey, and that's a hard thing for a lot of people to understand because we're human. We're always worrying about what the next person's doing, right? So that's still a part of the training. So fitness isn't just going and doing some squats. It's literally strengthening your mindset so that what you're setting up to do, you're going to nail. Or if you fall short, it's not that you failed. There's a lesson in everything. So beginner, intermediate, advanced, all of them, we all have our struggles. But I do want the beginners to understand that we all start from somewhere and not to stress about where that person is. Literally, just like track, I'm a track athlete. Stay in your lane, focus on yourself, tunnel vision, be selfish about it, be unapologetic about everything you're doing because it's your journey, Yeah. So that's one thing I like to hone in on.
Sure. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with Hindsight Fitness and Wellness. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Our old friends Arrowhead Mills was founded in the 1960s in the famous Texas Panhandle with the ambition to promote the production and use of pesticide-free grain, cereals, and pulses. The mission was to bring the most wholesome food attainable to the mainstream markets. Since then, Arrowhead Mills has increased its range of products, most of which are certified organic. You can be sure that Arrowhead Mills know a thing or two about good eats. This month, we're featuring Arrowhead Mills green and red organic lentils. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back. Andrea, when people are beginning to exercise, what's one of the most important things that they know before they decide I'm going to put a tape in the machine or go online and download a YouTube and we're going to go to this high intensity workout?
Wow, that just piggybacks on what we were talking about just now is that you have to be honest with where you are. And especially, I mean, if you're him, you can definitely do it and not worry about trying to show off or show out, right? But the one thing I want you to realize is that when you are a beginner, that you literally are honest with your efforts and what you can do and not stress about what you can't do. Because if you focus on what you can't do, that's a little depressing, and more than likely you'll probably quit. But if you focus on what you can do and do it well, there's no stopping you, because that just continues as a flow, because eventually you'll be able to do a little bit more, and then you'll do that well, and then it just continues. So as a beginner, just worry about, just be honest with what you can do and just push on through that.
Jay?
Andrea, I should say. We was having a conversation just before you came on, and as I've looked at some of these games over the last 2 months, now I'm a bit worried about recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Speak about recovery, because I think that also turns off a lot of folks when they first start out. They go hard, and as we know, sometimes you got to break the muscle down to build it back up. But that soreness, that pain, that sort of knocks it right out of the mindset. Like we ain't good.
So, okay, because I'm a go hard person. So I want people to believe everything I'm saying. Not necessarily follow what I'm doing, because everybody knows that I go hard. But so when you're first let's just say if you are got a plan. So I also like to write, right? So if I am writing out this 6-week plan, track the same way you're tracking the days you're going to do your workouts. It's the same way you need to put in those rest days. Now, every 3 days, every 2 days, again, it's all about you and being honest with what you can and cannot do. I would suggest every 2 to 3 days there's a rest day. If it can't be a complete rest day, active rest. Active rest is anything low impact, a walk, a slight jog if you are an avid runner, so it can be a slower run. Yoga is amazing as an active rest tool. Or if you don't want to do yoga, just stretching, anything that's easier on the body and allowing those muscles to recover. I would say as well to rid your mind of the idea that rest is for the weak. It is not. The more you rest, the better you rest, the easier it is for, like you said, Jay, for your muscles to recover so that you can go 110% in the next exercise, in the next workout. So I know a lot of people think go hard, go home, rest is for the weak. Okay, it's not, right? You need to be honest with how your body's feeling and actually take the rest that is trying to tell you. If not, injury is going to happen. It's inevitable that you're going to injure yourself if you're not resting properly. So if you want to think of that, I know that helps me track myself. I'd be like, all right, you need to rest. Because if you got injured and you're out for 2-3 weeks, I'm going to be miserable. And nobody wants to be living with me being miserable. So let me just peel it back, and just take the rest that my body's trying to tell me, or it's going to take it for me.
How do you advise your clients when it comes to the energy drinks, protein powders, the protein bars,
everything like that,
all the stuff on the shelf that they advertise that is a quick fix? How do you advise your clients on if they're going to take it? These are the benefits. These are the side effects.
At the end of the day, everything that we consume either counts towards weight loss or towards weight gain, right? Mm-hmm. If we're going to talk about like protein, anything, it's still a calorie. It's still something that you're putting into your system. I would remind them that eating these bars and everything, or the bars, the shakes, I'm not against them, but understand that you can't eat that alongside your meal. especially if you're trying to lose any sort of weight, because it's not water. You know what I'm saying? It actually it's got some nutrition, it's got some calories to it. So try not to look at these protein bars and everything as little snacks, because everything counts. Side effect wise, truthfully, if you drink having anything too high in protein without enough fiber, you're gonna be on the toilet trying to figure out why you can't be on the toilet. You know what I mean? You can get constipated. So that's one side effect that you don't want. So you have to understand and find the balance of everything that you're eating and understand. Make sure you're getting in good fiber. Make sure you're drinking enough water so that you're having a balanced diet, not just I'm gonna eat all this protein so I can bulk up. Okay, sir. Okay. And then you're gonna end up with problems. Energy drinks and stuff. I mean, I drink Celsius at least 2 a day, but you know, I got toddlers, so I blame that. As Jermaine always says, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. If too much of anything is not a good thing, right? So on the medical side, truthfully, check with your doctor and be like, yeah, is my heart even strong enough to be taking all these random jolts? You know, because it's not necessarily healthy.
Right.
You know, so and then we had a sleep talk the other day, which was pretty amazing. 41st Wink, for anyone who's listening. And just the side effects of caffeine, it messes with your sleep. Regardless of how much you're burning throughout the day, it still messes with your sleep. And that was one takeaway I took from it. I'm not ready to accept that I can't have my Celsius as much. But we're all human, you know, like I said, take in the information and you make the decision on how you want to proceed with it, right? But literally I would say, and we got access to so much information, so much being thrown at us. And if we really and truly want to become a student of our own body, a student of our own journey, especially fitness and wellness journey, then you go to Google and you try to absorb as much information so that you can make the right decision for your own self, you know? Right.
Well, we're in, I know you and I have had, and as well as Tremaine, have talks about having a segment of Hindsight Fitness and Wellness.
Yes.
So we'll do that and definitely be offering something for our viewers to be able to do, even if it is a 5-10 minute piece that they can do sitting at home, and that's just to get them started, as then they could then take it outdoors and do a little more.
Yeah, because just piggybacking on that, so the one program that we have come up with is the online streaming. So basically they are all pre-recorded workouts. You become a member of our Hindsight website, you become a member, and once you become a member and pay your monthly subscription, you get access to 16 videos a month, and it just keeps refreshing. And we even have a booster, which is 14-minute workout. So that's even something that anybody can, okay, I can do 14 minutes. Cool. Yeah. You know, everybody starts somewhere. For me, I would try to do like 3 or 4 of them, but that's me. I started a long time ago. Right. You know what I mean? But the idea is not to scare anybody away, but to encourage everybody to keep on moving. A body in motion is like the best thing in life, you know? So yeah, we encourage you guys to visit our website, hindsightfw.com, see what we can offer you. And like you said, we're going to try to keep giving to Bermuda and having a short segment where it's like 10 minutes. All right, guys, let's get up. Let's do this. Lost a little sweat, get a little healthier, joints moving and all of that, so that progressively we're moving as a country. Because, I mean, if we go dive a little too deep, Bermuda's very unhealthy. You know what I mean? And it comes from lack of movement. It comes from lack of education. And the more trainers, the more nutritionists, the more doctors that actually start speaking out on this, the healthier Bermuda can be. And we're a small country. There's no reason why us as a collective can't be healthier. You know what I mean? So that's where we're trying to put our efforts, and we're trying to encourage everybody to just move,
right.
eat well,
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time. We
You're
look forward
welcome.
to continuing our conversation and then hopefully have you back here.
Yes.
Getting, as you said, getting people to move.
Getting us moving. That's the
indeed.
idea.
Indeed. Well, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Nathan Dill, the president of the Bermuda Boxing Federation. We'll be right back.
Thanks a lot.
Amy's Kitchen is an independent organic food company, a family business who've been producing wholesome and flavorful foods over 30 years. From their first pot pie right up to 1 million meals a day, and firmly believe in the importance of TLC throughout the entire process. This month we're featuring a range of Amy's organic beans, refried and baked, chilies, medium spicy and beyond, and a multitude of organic soups, minestrone, chunky tomato bisque, cream of mushroom, hearty Thai coconut, and much more. Lindo's, why anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. I'm still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Well, good evening and welcome back. Good evening, Mr. Dill. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Errol. I'm great. Jason, good night, Bermuda.
Well, we've had some exciting boxing take place a few weekends ago. Looking at how that event went off and what your organization is trying to do or in getting ready to do. Where can we see the sport in the next few months, and how do you think it's going to progress?
Well, things are going exactly as we have projected them. The BBF, we keep going up here, and we keep pushing our athletes, and we see that whatever level the previous athletes, previous national team reach, the next generation behind them is trying to follow and exceed that, and that's exactly what's going on right now with Adrian Roach, and really the federation is really growing. We want to push to be major players in the sporting environment in Bermuda. We want our voice not just to be heard, but we want to be seen as taking the lead with some of the initiatives that we have going on, and that's what leads us to where we are now and where we're trying to go in the future.
Now you're planning to have a forum in the next few weeks, but it's not just for boxing. It's kind of a wide range of administrative, coaching, education. It's well rounded. What is the concept behind that for the Bermuda Boxing Federation to put something like this on?
So, as most people know, I'm an educator. I have my I teach at Cedar Bridge. I'm a history teacher. I'm a history nerd. I love it. I just always knew a lot about history, and I always knew that I was going to be an educator. I enjoy it, so this workshop really combines, two of my passions together, which is boxing or athletics and education. So this came about, we received a grant from the Department of Youth and Sport. What we are looking to do is to host a boxing clinic. So we reached out to the most logical person, which was John Olhauser. He is Adrian Roach's coach. We really would like to forge a relationship with him because he was looking to come to Bermuda when the pandemic just hit. I think it was December 2020. We were at first looking to bring him to Bermuda, but the timing was bad. We had an event lined up at Devonshire Rack. We just had to pull the plug on that. So we always had the intention of bringing John and his team to Bermuda, and then Boxing Canada said no outside events. They pulled the plug on any athletes going outside of the country to box, unless it was for Olympic purposes. So we delayed this idea of John and his team coming to Bermuda until now, and it really comes at a feasible time because we've eased up. Bermuda has eased up on some restrictions, and John is the vice president for academics at his university, Crandall University, and he is their head boxing coach. So this, symbiosis of education and athletics, we see it all around us. So the federation, we decided to not make this about boxing, but make this about athletics. And so we reached out to different stakeholders, yourself included, and, thank you, graciously accepted our invitation. So we wanted to host one workshop on high performance that would be designed to discuss how to not develop young athletes, but maintain and accelerate young athletes, because we do a lot of development, and we know that development is the grassroots. It talks about, how to build with the relationship with the young person and take them from basically knowing nothing to getting to the point where they're hungry. They want to compete. They want to do better, and they're doing that on their own. This workshop is more going to talk about you get a high performing athlete, that incremental difference, or that incremental between where you got them and where you need them to be, that could be very challenging for coaches. They're already they have their set ways. They want to do things their way. They have their set training. How do you take a high performing athlete and take them to that next level? So the first workshop on March the 1st with John Olhauser, Macy O'Deal, yourself, and Garen Wilkinson. And we've also just today confirmed Katura Horton. So she's gonna, we want to get the balance, and we're still seeking other panelists for that. So that's March the 1st, and then March the 2nd, it's gonna be Angela Young of Kicks. She's going to be talking about the balancing athletics and academics. She's going to be talking more about the academics part and the study skills and the executive functioning skills that young people need to do. We have Letitia Lister Burgess, who is the executive director of the EAP, because we want to recognize that the mental health is a huge part of things. and we also have John Olhauser coming in again. And I'm excited for the youth panelists, which is Adrian Roach, of course, of boxing. We have Jediah Kamamak of motorcycle racing, and we have Dominique Brown of martial arts. And these are all top student athletes right now. So, we thought it'd be fitting to include them in this conversation of balancing athletics and academics.
Sure. Good.
Well, welcome once again, Nathan. I'm glad you guys have took this time, especially through the pandemic, because obviously with a lack of activity in the ring, you guys have took the time to, educate and hope to educate. But I just want to go back to the ring a bit, because obviously I've been to the last probably 5 or 6 fight nights.
Were you there at the last one? I didn't see, but I was.
Well, you might have heard the music, because I played the music.
Yes, okay. I didn't see you, but you was there. Okay, I heard you.
But in saying that, I mean, these are coming some great events, as you know. But what obviously through the pandemic, the biggest thing, and we have that not only just in other sports, but the lack of activity through the pandemic. Mm-hmm. What is the Bermuda Boxing Federation looking to do to ramp up activity for these boxers going forward? Because once you get this information, that's only one part of it. I know these boxers are, they're biting their lip, and then
biting at the bit to get back in the ring. We understand that.
Like the other day because of certain things. So, I know they don't want to wait another 6 to 7 months. So how do you, as a federation, look to get help, probably from government, to spearhead more frequency of events?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question, and what we have to do now at this point is to really look outside of Bermuda. We want to look at Bermuda. The federation has we have switched our mandate from putting on regular fights to now increasing the performance of athletes. So meaning to say, when I came in at 2015, the challenge was the athletes were not getting regular fights. You might have Teachers Rugby do an event here and there, an odd promoter do an event here or there, but you never had the actual association putting on events because events take a lot of time, money, resources, everything, and it could financially ruin an organization such as us. If you're doing a high value event like a Princess event. But like I said, in 2015, our mandate then was we need to have regular on-island competitions. Now with Epic Entertainment, they have invested heavily in the sport, purchased their own ring. Their focus is more professional, but we can benefit as well because, as I say, the boxing ring only gets set up once. So, amateur boxing can benefit, professional boxing, Muay Thai, Sanda, all the combat sports can benefit from those events. So if we have a promoter such as Epic hosting regular events, the federation does not need to then put so much focus on, hey, other events regularly locally. So what we've done during this downtime time during the pandemic is we really put some processes in place to say, we created a pathway to say, okay, how can we assist you, the clubs and the athlete, in getting to the next level? Because local events are at this level. We want them to achieve Olympic success, and there are several steps in between. So to put a brief little picture to it, so you have your local events, you have your overseas club fights. That's like we went to Marco Island, Controversy Gene went to Marco Island. They were invited to New Jersey. We are always getting emails to say, hey, can you guys come here and fight? Can you guys come here and fight? The most recent one came through Garen Wilkinson from Aruba. It was a kickboxing event, but also boxing. So they contacted Garen as their kickboxing contact and said, hey, we need kickboxers, but we also need boxers. So you have your local events, you have your overseas club events, And then, of course, you have your overseas, international tournaments. So we can start off at just, open tournament in the Caribbean. Hey, this is only for a certain level or certain caliber of boxers. That wouldn't be just open to everybody. You would not send a first-time boxer to that sort of event because it's, inherently risky. You want to send somebody experienced and able to handle themselves. So we created a pathway to say the BBF will commit a certain percentage of funding for these events, and the amount of funding goes up depending on the level of event. So, for example, if a boxer or a coach wants to send their athlete to the Golden Gloves, that's big. That's here. So we would commit, 50%, 70% of their, expenses to go to that level of event. So we want the athletes and the coaches to know that those things are within your grasp. We want to eliminate the financial barrier of you attending those events. And we want to see you do those overseas events more regularly. So, for example, Adrian Roach is fighting every 3 weeks. This young man is going to be, the most experienced boxer on this island in the last 25 years, even more so than, some of the former national team members when they were part of us, because he's in a high performance environment where he can get fights every couple of weeks. So we want to, of course, that's going to be very difficult being an athlete in Bermuda, but we at least want to make that more accessible so that between, their own initiatives and our support, they can get 4, 5, 6 fights a year, which is, what we would like to have happen between the local events and the overseas events. We want our boxers to gather a good amount of experience.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with Nathan Dill. We'll be right back.
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
John Barrett & Son, home of Bermuda's best beverages, is starting the new year with an exciting new beverage, Numa, the organic sport hydration drink. Founded by brothers Brendan and Jared, both pro hockey players, Numa stands for No More Artificials and is an organic plant-based sports drink with real ingredients like organic coconut water and Himalayan pink salt. Numa partnered with fitness groups in the USA early in their development and expertly responded to the call for purity and simplicity. Try all flavors of Numa organic sports drink this month. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Nathan, AIBA still having its challenges globally. Of late, we see boxing has not been included in the
2028
Olympics, but can get at it. But the things that they're asking AIBA to do, I think a lot of organizations have been asking them to do it for quite some time. How do you encourage if a boxer has Olympic dreams in our region? Because obviously you talk to people in our region. How are they convincing the boxer to stay, focused that hopefully AIBA could get its act straight, that they could then represent their country at the Olympics in 2028?
Well, AIBA has its challenges, I agree, and I am on the fence of things, but I feel that the IOC took this move as a power move to say, we're not bluffing. You need to get your act in order. So it's no longer the threat of we're going to take you out. It's we have taken you out. You have X amount of years to get it in order so you could be added back in. So we're actually confident. I'm confident that AIBA will be added back in. How much stress and how much infighting and how many meetings I'm gonna have to attend for that to happen, that's gonna be the hard part. I find my experience with AIBA is that they are still it's an oligarchy. It's an oligarchy, and they are doing everything to maintain the control that they had established all of these years, and people do not inherently like giving up power. So that's my synopsis of it. But I do believe that it should be under this current president. I do support Umar Kremlev. I believe that he will navigate through this challenge, but he's going to have to move a lot faster than he has been. He thought that the IOC would be happy and pleased with his reforms. Their message to him is that it's too little and it's not far enough, and he needs to go further with these reforms.
Well, we have Commonwealth, we have Pan Am, we have a lot of junior stuff as well.
We don't have Commonwealth, unfortunately. We don't have Commonwealth. Boxing is not, we were not allocated a place. Okay. I do not understand the politics. We've had very productive conversations with Peter Dunn, the new Bermuda Olympic Association president, and his team. But, I just, it was just like, hey, rip the Band-Aid off. Are we going or not? And I was like, unfortunately, it's not within Bermuda's control. So I thought that the Commonwealth would be a fantastic opportunity for Adrian to get his first, because it's no qualifying event for the Commonwealth, but it's a qualifying standard, and we were able to set that standard. And I felt that with Adrian's performances and with his experience out there in Crandall University, he would make a compelling case to be included on the Commonwealth team. But again, Bermuda Olympic Association didn't have a say in that themselves. So, we have to move past that.
Sure. Jay?
Yeah, it's just, man, this stuff. You guys, this must keep you up at night, man. This must keep you up.
We do a lot of hours. Like I'm on my phone now because we're juggling so many things right now. We have the AMBC qualifier coming out, which I don't know how far deep you want to go in that, because that can be a whole separate discussion. We have the visit from John Alhauser. We have a coaching Boxing 101 introduction to boxing coaches. that's coming out. We've had a lot of time on our hands during this pandemic, and all of the initiatives that were we should do this now became, well, it's no reason we don't have to. When you're doing events, you're running around and that's all you're focusing on. The preparation for events begins at least 6 months prior to the event. So yeah, we've had a productive time, and so yeah, we're going to be launching a coaches training course, and that course has been built specifically. Actually, we want to target female coaches. It's not exclusive to female coaches, but the cohort that we have built for the first running of this course it's all women, and we like that. If a man sneaks in, then we'll accept him, but he will have to understand that he is going to be vastly outnumbered. So we're excited for that, and we're continuously growing the school programs. So the politics of boxing, it will always be a relevant thing, but we try not to let it touch our athletes and our daily operation. We were crushed when Adrian was affected by, and Tyler and Andre were affected by that politics of boxing, of not having the qualifier and that sort of stuff. We understand that does affect the athletes, but right now the athletes trust us. They completely trust us, and they understand that with the Bermuda Boxing Federation, there is a pathway towards where they would like to go. If they would like to go to the Olympics, there's a pathway. If they'd like to just get experience and then go pro, there's still a pathway. We shout out to Vince Toto, who he was heading out to Ecuador as well, but he's now diverted and is on that professional track, which we also fully support as well.
Yeah, so you sort of took my question away from me, because you sort of mentioned everything about it, and I was basically trying to keep these guys incentivized through these times, and you've mentioned so many opportunities, or what you want to call the pathway. My question would be for you though, how much collaboration or how much information you're getting from the boxers, or what they want going forward, that they want to see within the federation? How much? Because a lot of times federations or committees just go and make these decisions based on what they feel what might be best for the boxer, without having a lot of input from boxers. But what are the boxers are actually telling you guys?
So that's a great question, and that's something that we actually had to realize just this year. So again, it's been 7 years. That's long enough, but it's only been about 2 years since I've been involved in boxing internationally. For the first 5 years, it was to build the local program, but now the last 2 years, and so one of the things, the email I got this morning from Russia was, hey, it's time for you guys. This is AIBA. And it's time for Bermuda to renew its accreditation. So it's a checklist of, do you have this? Send us this document. And one of the things was, do you have an athletes commission? Now, we had just established last year a coaches commission. We have a referee and judges commission. We have a disciplinary panel, but an athletes commission was one of the things that we had neglected. So that's really now on the forefront, because as I said, this morning, I got the email to say, hey, accreditation, and to check that box. No, we don't have an athletes commission. It lets me know that at the next AGM, that's the next thing that we need to put into place. Again, we were on I think a lot of sports are moving to that model, and so I it wasn't completely blindsided, but it definitely was something that had I we could have done this a couple of years ago, but again, at that point, we were focusing on, such different things. So it's a good feeling for me as an organization to say, well, what are the areas for us to grow? We're bringing in compliance officer, we're bringing in a new disciplinary committee chair. We're growing our board. We've identified persons who are going to be working on our fundraising and financing board. So to see our organization grow, it allows me to step back and say, okay, what's the next step? And the next step, you will see by February 24th, our AGM, we formally establish the Athletes Commission. And we would immediately reach out to some athletes like Tyler and Andre, some former athletes and current athletes, to build up their commission to keep us accountable. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
The final question we have is the national championships. I know you guys worked extremely hard to get that up and running. The pandemic kind of put it to the side, but when can we possibly see a national championship back in the field?
So we're very eager to host a national championship because it was decided a couple of years ago with the blessing of Mrs. Rigo. We decided to rename the national championship as the Allen Footy Rigo Memorial Tournament. So that will be our national championship, and that would kind of cement our his legacy and our honoring of Mr. Rigo. So that was supposed to be 2018. I'm sorry, our last national championship was 2018. Then the pandemic hit. Right now, our focus is actually going to be back on building up this grassroots program, which fell off because of COVID. We still have the numbers, but we don't have the organization. We don't have them all coming together. If I say to now, that said, we plan to have a national championship this year, 2022. We do plan to have it this year. And all of the coaches are on board for us to have a national championship this year. But the question would be, do we have the adequate amount of athletes to participate? Because the school programs, again, we're just restarting them. We just got the okay to restart them. We had remote learning. So we have a partnership with Family Center for Dalwood. We have about 17 to 20 something young men at the Dalwood program, which has been a fantastic group. I have been thrown in as a coach, and I tell everybody I am not a coach. I liken it to this. I said, I can teach a child how to kick the football. I can definitely teach it, but I can't teach them strategy of when to kick it and why to kick it and where to kick it. So I was thrown in as a coach, and fortunately we got Jay Roberts, who is a boxing coach, to take over that program from us. But we have to solidify the numbers in the school programs and in the gym after school programs. Leo has a great program that we all know, but we can't just dwell on those numbers. We're going to need to also assist other GMs to get the youth programs up to a level. So whereas it is the adequate numbers that we would need for a national championship. But the idea is there, and the seed is planted for a 2022 national championship, rather in late December or sometime throughout the year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We want to wish you well. We'll be in touch because obviously things are changing daily. As you got an email this morning, you'll probably get another one tomorrow morning. But yeah,
I'm sure
things are changing daily in the sport, and we want to encourage you and your team to keep encouraging the athletes as well, because it's important that everybody gets the encouragement, not just when things go wrong, one group gets the blame. You know, you're in it together. So I want to wish you all the best, and we'll reach out to you again soon.
Absolutely.
Any more updates in the sport of boxing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your investment in the sport, Jay and Earl. We talk soon. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our final commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of the Honest Dad Sports Show. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Our old friends Arrowhead Mills was founded in the 1960s in the famous Texas Panhandle with the ambition to promote the production and use of pesticide-free grains, cereals, and pulses. The mission was to bring the most wholesome food attainable to the mainstream markets. Since then, Arrowhead Mills has increased its range of products, most of which are certified organic. You can be sure that Arrowhead Mills know a thing or two about good eats. This month, we're featuring Arrowhead Mills green and red organic lentils. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Well, Jay, we went from fitness to getting knocked out. But you got to be fit in order to try and knock somebody out. That's for sure.
Oh, if you ain't fit, you will get knocked out.
Because even if it's a 2-minute run, it's a long time in there. You got the gloves on and you're swinging away. Oh man.
Well, before I get back to boxing, I just want to say that from both stories, so both guests today, we've seen some of the great things that have come out of this COVID. You know, to take the initiative and look at it from a different lens and work on some things that you might have put on the back burner for a little while that we could probably do, but we're still complacent on how we'll get. COVID's made us change our minds. Like, you know what, we got to do it now.
Yeah.
I missed last week's show. Obviously, I was at the rec, but so I hadn't really spoke to you much about the boxing event, and obviously there fighters there, but I'll tell you what I did take away from it, and me being in the background and working around, it was amazing to see how everybody, because you're not talking about one gym, you're talking about multiple gyms, multiple groups coming together to make and pull off the event. You don't get to see that too often when you're asking for, number one, multiple groups come together for one particular event, right? But to see them come together, so even something as simple as you may think entrance music. I asked for every last boxer who boxed that night, from the first fighter, the young lady, everybody to let them come out to their own entrance music. So as young as they are, let them feel like, because that's the, they see it, They feel it, and they've been treated, and the crowd obviously was amazing. I could only imagine if we didn't have the restrictions that night, how many people would have been inside the shed cheering everybody on. But in saying that, to see everybody do what they could to pull that event off, I'm only hoping and I'm praying, Earl, that continues, because what I saw the other night up at the Shed and Dockyard, and shout out to Epic Entertainment, because it's no small task at all. Number one, to bring everybody together, but number two, to pull it off. And hopefully other organizations could take a page out of that book, because they were involved in all the different facets of the fight game, whether it's training, whether it was the preparation, whether it's the testing, because they had to be tested at certain times, and then obviously the international fighters. So the camaraderie, you saw that the camaraderie at some of the weigh-ins, and then the night itself, and I can only imagine some of the relationships these guys have built over that weekend. I'm just hoping that it will go from strength to strength. And listening to Nathan Deal today, that took a lot of guts to change their mandate and say, you know what? If these guys are doing such a good job on this, let us take the next. Let's go where we could take it to the next level. And I wish these guys all the best, because you mentioned earlier with the international, we don't know what's going to happen with some of these international events, but you still got to keep a carrot, because some of these boxers are probably coming close to their time.
And even the ones that are young will start to say, why am I doing this?
Right. Exactly.
Especially if I've set myself a goal and I don't see that coming any closer, because there's so many other things out there that could distract them very easily.
The only thing that, and I think probably for another conversation, I think you probably touch on it when you guys in your forum, but the only thing I would love to hear more about would be the education part of the federation, right? Because we're talking about Adrian Roach being in school, the coach is a teacher, is an educator, but there are other pathways for scholarships for young athletes, because once again, that's another incentive, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it'd probably be good to have him back on to talk about some of the, what is out there for. Take for instance a parent who's got a child who loves boxing, looking to go abroad
and can get educated through it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reality is, Jay, there's opportunities out there for a lot of our athletes, no matter what they do, because there are schools that they can attend that specify in those things. Like in the United States, there are a lot of schools that have cricket teams, but we tend to go to England because that's all we know, or that's all we want to know, that cricket in the US is no good, don't worry about it. Same thing with football over there. But there's opportunities for our young people to be educated and do the sport they love. We have squash players in the US. We have tennis players in the US. We have track and field athletes in the US. We have footballers, so why can't we had a baseballer, so why can't we have more? Just look at the schools that offer those things and you can attend. So, it'd be good to have the Crandall coach talk about what it takes to be a student athlete in the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
How much is it different from being a student athlete in the sport of football?
Right, or track,
Yeah, because there'll be a lot of similarities. There'll probably be one or two unique things, but there'll be a lot of similarities.
Yeah, because the training side of it, the theory side, but also the competition side, because you're probably going to another school to fight against or compete against other schools and stuff. And once again, as fighters or athletes, you want to compete.
Yes.
So that's just another avenue for that fighter or that athlete to compete. Whereas we don't have those options here on the island.
Right. Yeah. As he said, Adrian's fighting every 3 weeks, so at least once a month he's in the ring fighting. Here, it's almost once a year where you're fighting.
Because these things take a lot. We don't have, unfortunately, for a lot of our sports of that we don't have the infrastructure. So for
Right.
somebody to come in to change or to, take a shed, literally a shed, and to make it into a venue, it costs. It's unbelievable. I mean, if to go up the stadium or to go Hamilton Princess or to go, but the shed is, man, all those places have bathrooms and stuff. Just think, you got to supply bathrooms.
Mm-hmm. Something as simple as that. Yeah.
You got to supply changing rooms. You got to be like, where ain't no showers.
Right.
All these that you might have taken for granted at other places, right? But it's nothing that at a shed. It's just a shed, right? So it's gonna be interesting how we go forward and what venues that we can utilize for these groups to do it. So,
all right. Well, just before we go, the score out at the Devonshire Recreation Club at St. George's Nil, Somerset Trojans nil, and just getting underway out at BAA Field, it is Robin Hood nil, PHC Zebras nil. So
I won't be surprised that St. George's game be a draw, and I just tell you because once again they've played a lot of football in last week or so.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned it earlier. I watched a thin squad the other day. I watched a few of their players pull up, so it wouldn't surprise me if this game, both teams are just tired.
Yeah, both teams have played a similar amount of games because this is the makeup game that they've missed. So yeah.
Before we go, Earl, I just want to say condolences to the Smith family. Tyrone Smith. Every time I call his name, it brings smiles because as a youngster coming up early in the league back in the 80s, he was definitely a master blaster where we played police. We lost, and he represented Somerset in the Cup match. So another thing.
Yeah. Didn't do nothing. Another one.
That's good enough. Good enough. He was
hotter balloon.
Well, you won't want to build against him.
Well, got to tell the umpire Hoodie Bowls in his pocket.
But to know him on and off the field, and that he's a youngster, but he was always one of them as young players. He was always willing to give us advice. So I just want to say thank you for the family and condolences to the Smith family.
Sure. All right. With that, we say good night.